An ancient Saiyan has now awoken to fight our heroes in the upcoming Dragon Ball Super 2018 movie, but the question on everyone's mind is, who exactly is this individual? What timeline did he come from? And is it possible that this person was a person that was alluded from ever since Battle of Gods' inception, in not only being the ancient Super Saiyan God spoken within lore, but also even being somebody that was seen within Beerus' prophecy? Does this ancient Saiyan hold the keys in discovering the answer behind the origin of the Saiyan powers, or is there more to this person than we are led to believe? On today's video, we will be discussing the possible origins of the upcoming ancient Saiyan in the Dragon Ball Super movie, so strap on and buckle up and hold on to your Dragon Balls, because we are going to be discussing the ancient Saiyan in the upcoming Dragon Ball Super 2018 movie next. If you are new to this channel and enjoy what you see, then don't forget to punch that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to receive new and daily content on your mobile devices, desktops, and services that I provide, along with following me on these social media platforms to stay connected with me at all times. Thank you so much for your continued support. Now let's begin. With the upcoming Dragon Ball Super 2018 movie on the horizon, fans within the Dragon Ball community are begging the question as to who exactly this individual is going to be battling Goku in the upcoming film, alongside what his origins could potentially be and how strong he's going to be in comparison to a Goku following the Tournament of Power. As joining me here today to tackle the subject of the mysterious Saiyan in the upcoming Dragon Ball film is my good friend SuperSaiyanPaul. Now Paul, this is a most interesting discussion because this Saiyan could come from any timeline, any dimension, any universe, and considerably noted in the teaser, it looks like this person who's going to be battling Goku is by no means going to be a weakling in terms of stature. Now, the most interesting concept, I believe, behind this mysterious person is where he comes from, and there was a theory going around that perhaps maybe this individual is the same individual that came about in Beerus' prophecy of meeting a rival who just so happens to be a Super Saiyan God that's going to come about and entertaining him and giving him the battle that he so desperately desires. Now, some people make the argument in saying perhaps maybe Goku is that person, or at least was the person within Beerus' prophecy, within Beerus' dream, in becoming his rival, but after having to follow Battle of Gods, we never saw Goku engage with Beerus ever again, with the exception of Beerus within the Monaka costume. So what I wanted to ask you, Paul, is what are the odds of this Saiyan, of this individual, having to be an individual that perhaps is, or at least was foreshadowed in Battle of Gods, in being one of the ancient Saiyans that once existed, but just so happened to have disappeared, never to be heard or seen from again, in the idea that the whole time that Beerus was alluding to this rival, this could have potentially have been him. What are your thoughts on the prophecy having to be fulfilled, and everything having to come full circle, going back to Battle of Gods, and this individual having to be the first ever Super Saiyan God, strong enough even to compare to even someone like Goku at this given point? Do you believe that such a concept is logical, or do you believe it's too far-fetched and that this individual is an entirely new individual that has nothing to do with anything we've seen in Dragon Ball Super thus far?
I would have to say that I think that this person that we've seen in the trailer thus far, in the teaser trailer at least, is the person from Beerus' dream. The reason why is that it lines up more in with the storyline of Dragon Ball Super and what they introduced from the very beginning. I think it has a lot more build up than anything else, rather than it being a random Saiyan that just popped out of nowhere. And the reason why it makes more sense to use him is because the Saiyan of legend, the Saiyan of lore, and a person that Akira Toriyama has canonized but still hasn't shown in the anime or manga has been developed this far. All of this hype really builds up him to be this ancient Saiyan. Now, it could be renamed it to somebody else, or it could be still used as Yamoshi. Now, the reason why it works in this way rather than bringing out a new Saiyan is because if they used it from the Saiyan being from the dream and everything, Dragon Ball Super from the very beginning it built this character up till now. And if you compare it to what happened in the Tournament of Power, like compared to Jiren just showed up out of nowhere and the hype train just launched from 1 to 100 with him. Now this guy, he's from the lore. He's from the very beginning. He's an ancient Saiyan. There's a lot more to his legacy than there ever was with Jiren, and a lot more to the future if this guy does have to, like, has a future arc in store for us here in the future of Dragon Ball Super.
I definitely think that they're going to allude that perhaps maybe this Saiyan does come from an ancient time, because he's not going to be anybody that we know of. So I think that, in my opinion, this could stem back to Beerus's dream, because it actually all makes sense. It connects back to Battle of Gods. Everything, you know, goes back to Battle of Gods. It's very ironic how Dragon Ball Super kicked off the new series with Battle of Gods, with the introduction of deities that are, you know, far and beyond even anything we've seen before in the world of Dragon Ball Z, introducing Super Saiyan God, and then even going beyond that into Super Saiyan Blue, and then even going beyond that and learning about, you know, Ultra Instinct, and then, you know, the angels and mortals being stronger than perhaps gods. I think that this person, it's not Shalat. Shalat is the Saiyan from Dragon Ball Legends. He does not have any direct connection with this mysterious person from the film. However, I think that if this person happens to be the same Saiyan that, you know, was foreseen within Beerus's dream, my only question to you is, how would it make sense for him to be relative to Goku now after the Tournament of Power, considering how strong Goku has gotten since Battle of Gods, going into ROF, going into the Champa arc, Goku Black, the Tournament of Power? Goku has considerably increased in strength, so much that I don't think this person would be able to even hold a candle to Goku if this is an ancient Saiyan from a time where, you know, he once lived and something happened to him, whether or not he just disappeared or died. You know, I don't think that it would measure up to scale when it comes to power, unless of course they want to give him like a significant power increase to make him relative to Goku, which I think they're going to have to. However, what if he's not the Saiyan from Beerus's dream? What if in fact the person from Beerus's dream does end up being Goku, considering that, yes, you know, Goku does have Ultra Instinct, even though he told Vegeta, I can't tap into it anymore? What if it is Goku? Does that really, you know, kind of like deflate the idea and concept of there being another person out there that could potentially rival Goku? Or do you believe that it would make sense for this person not to be the Saiyan from Beerus's prophecy and dream, and more or less being somebody entirely different with its own origin and backstory?
See, the thing they did here is that it 50-50, like if you look at it, they dug themselves into a hole, and they also did something good with the vagueness of that dream, because the fact that they didn't go into complete description as to like how accurate that dream was. They never
really confirmed as to who the person was. You know, Beerus just alluded that it was the Saiyan God, you know?
Yeah, and because of that vagueness, they have freedom to do with whatever they want. They can literally write anything about this Saiyan and increase his power and things like that. Where they wrote themselves into a hole is Goku's power level. Now, matching that up to this Saiyan and seeing that they're going to have a fight, especially with how far Goku's coming to terms of power after the Tournament of Power,
right?
Like, where does this fit? And are we going to be seeing mastered Ultra Instinct or perfected Ultra Instinct, if anything? Because if they use that form too much, especially now that Goku can't use it, are we going to be seeing this show up too much, and then all of a sudden it becomes the Super Saiyan transformation, where at first he couldn't tap into it, and then all of a sudden it becomes second nature? Or is this going to be saved for something very, very special later on in the series? We don't know how often Goku's going to use this form, and with all the hype behind it, I think they'd want to use it in the movie. If anything, that would make this movie that much better, but that would reduce the significant impact of us seeing it on screen, and then they would have to create something even bigger and beyond Ultra Instinct to create hype later down the road.
Which so they've ultimately alluded to with Vegeta saying, hey, we know we can grow stronger, Saiyan has no limits, which is the quote for the film itself. It says, you know, the Saiyans have no limits. But I think that, I disagree with you. I think that Ultra Instinct should not be introduced, because with such a power like that, we saw how effective it was against Jiren, and you know, Ultra Instinct in and of itself is something very, very powerful, you know, in its own right compared to Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan God, and I don't think it would be fair for this person, for this mysterious Saiyan, to fight Ultra Instinct Goku, considering the fact that Goku at that level would be too much for him to handle. Thus, I think that if they want to upscale this person, surely enough, Super Saiyan Blue would be the standard, as we saw with various other characters fighting Super Saiyan Blue Goku, such as Kale in her Berserker form, we saw Topo and various other people. But I think that if this goes back to the ancient Saiyan prophecy, and this being the Saiyan that Beerus dreamed about, the only question is, where did he come from? You know, what happened to him? A lot of people were talking about perhaps maybe he was restored as the other universes came back, maybe the ones that were erased from, by Zeno prior, which, there's no evidence to support that, which kind of like, just completely disintegrates the argument of him coming from those universes. However, do you think that perhaps maybe he is from Universe 6 or 7, since it's the only logical way to go about that, considering that Universe 6 and 7 are parallels to each other? If that were to be the case, I think that he would definitely come from Universe 6, because if he was residing in Universe 7 the whole time, where was he? Was he dead? If he was alive, where was he? This whole time, with Beerus being out there destroying planets, Majin Buu, back when he was in his heyday, destroying things with, Bibbidi, and for this person not to be awoken or disturbed by any of those events, it's kind of weird to me. Frieza going around conquering planets, it doesn't make any sense for him to come from Universe 7, because if he was and or is from Universe 7, where was he the entire time? Unless, of course, in fact, maybe perhaps he was dead the whole time. But I think that it would be great, in my opinion, to see this person either A, be the Saiyan from the prophecy, just because it would all tie into, Goku learning about, wow, so you're the Saiyan that Beerus dreamed about, so you must be incredibly powerful. But not only that, also considering the fact that if this is someone that predates, the planet Vegeta Saiyans, then ultimately this person has to have knowledge of what it means to become a Super Saiyan, the first of his kind during that era. So my question to you is, let's say, for example, if this person ends up being the Saiyan from, Beerus's prophecy, where do we go from here in terms of execution? Do you have this person be relative to Goku, inferior to Goku? Because the slogan back in December was they were going to include the most amount of Saiyans ever in this film. They didn't really specify as to what world, what universe. They didn't say anything of that nature. All they said was we're going to have the most amount of Saiyans ever, and that was it. So do you think that this person is going to come alone, or is he going to be backed up by other Saiyan comrades in this situation? Because so far in the teaser, it's just him, and considerably enough, he looks very, very formidable when it comes to combat. So do you think that, if he is from Beerus's prophecy, he should be relative to Goku, and if he does end up arriving there, which he will, is he going to come alone, or is he going to come with a squad?
I think ultimately they're going to have to make him, if he is the person from the lore, like at least on par with Goku, because if this is the person from Beerus's dream, I think above Goku, like above Super Saiyan Blue. Yeah, above Super Saiyan Blue. The reason why is because
Kaioken level, perhaps?
Probably bigger than that.
Wow.
Because if this is the person from Beerus's dream, maybe this guy could have pushed Beerus to 100% at the time. We know that Super Saiyan Blue, I don't know at this point in time if it's stronger than at the end of Tournament Power, like after he's got Ultra Instinct in him and everything activated, if that Super Saiyan Blue got a buff to the point where it's enough to take on Beerus. But I think the reason why I wouldn't want to see Super Saiyan Blue in the movie is because I think even the animators realized they've overused that form. Even in the Tournament of Power, they nerfed it in a way because it's like, oh, it uses too much power. So now we're going to have to bring back Super Saiyan Red and the other Super Saiyan transformations because we've used this for over 100 episodes in the series. Literally, you've seen it more than anything else.
Well, Super Saiyan Blue was the default for Dragon Ball Super if you look at it after ROF.
And I think people got fatigued at looking at it. That's why they had to just bring back Super Saiyan Red or Super Saiyan God and then show us some Ultra Instinct. And even with Kale and Caulifla, like fusion and all these other colors of the hair, like green hair back in the legendary Broly throwback with Kale and stuff like that. So I think they realized that, Super Saiyan Blue got really, really overplayed.
No, it really did become the standard Super Saiyan transformation. Going back to like Dragon Ball Z, remember how, Dragon Ball Z's standard was Super Saiyan 1 before going into 2 and 3? Well, for most people at least, that became like the norm for Dragon Ball Z. That's why I feel like for Super, the norm became Super Saiyan Blue, because it was the transformation most used against Black, Hit, Frieza, the TOP, even against, some of our own characters, like as we saw with Krillin, 17, Gohan, when, Goku fought against them to recruit them for the tournament. The only thing is, going into this film, I do think that this person might come alone, but it's also kind of sketchy because if the animators and producers and directors are saying that we're going to see the most amount of Saiyans ever, then does that mean that he's going to come alone, or is he going to come with a brigade? And that kind of also begs the question of what will Vegeta do, what will Gohan do, if they're going to have any importance or significance at all, which I think they will be, heavily featured and involved here. But going into this prophecy, do you think that, to just wrap things up here, do you think that, by the end of this, if this person ends up being that, same Saiyan that Beerus envisioned, Do you believe that Goku's going to just completely wipe the floor with this person and not, you know, giving us a chance to see this person square up against Beerus, or perhaps maybe go in a different route? Because I think that what this movie needs to do is introduce a very strong villain, just like they did with Black and Zamasu, because we haven't seen any of that since Golden Frieza. Dragon Ball Super didn't really have villains like that. The only true villains were, you know, Zamasu and Frieza. Everybody else was an anti-hero or perhaps maybe an obstacle for Goku to overcome. Jiren, Hit. If you can name anybody else, I would be glad to hear you out. And the Potafu stuff doesn't really count because that, you know, copy Vegeta wasn't really anything that much of an important, you know, factor in the show. But more or less, we didn't see any powerful antagonists. And I feel like to execute the story well, this person needs to be pure evil. He can't just be someone that shakes Goku's hand in the end and walks away. Do you agree with that concept, or do you feel like he should be more or less an anti-hero like Hit, like Jiren, like most of the other characters we saw before, in opening up doors for a new series? Or do you think that Goku or whoever should end up killing this person, but thus setting up for something later on in the future?
I think they have to set something up for the future, and I see him being a bigger threat than Beerus because
really,
Beerus and the bond that they've built throughout Dragon Ball Super, he's one of the gang, and him loving planet Earth and Xeno having that bond with Goku, they specifically said in that trailer, which the teaser trailer at least, Earth has Goku. So Earth is at risk from whoever the antagonist is, and you think Beerus would just let that happen at this point in time after the Tournament of Power happened, where Earth has the strongest fighters, and if there was another Tournament of Power or anything like that, or some kind of like planetary or universal risk, if he loses Goku and that bond with Xeno, they could end up losing the universe at any time. I mean, with that bond that Beerus has with Earth now, you think he's just going to sit back and let them destroy it? Or is this guy just going to overpower everyone, which would make sense because that would build up a lot more hype. There's like this tier of fighters between where Jiren was and where the Grand Priest is at the top 5, where they have to fill up, and I think that this guy's going to be up there.
But so then doesn't that devalue the nature of Jiren? Because bro, at the end of the day, Jiren was the only person that we saw not only fight Goku and beat him down, but he fought high god level characters at once. Goku, Vegeta, 17, Frieza, he fought everybody by himself, beat Hit. You know, assumingly he could have defeated anybody if it were not for Master UI beating him down. So do you think, in your opinion, that this upcoming Mysterious Saiyan might be on par with Jiren? Because to be truthful, I don't think they should do that. That's too much. We saw how powerful Jiren is, and I'm pretty sure you can also consider the fact that he's one of the very few people that we saw in the series that was like mind-blowing, like wow, who else was able to push back a spirit bomb with just his eyes, endure final flashes and Kamehamehas? This guy was a beast. So at the end of the day, do you think that he's gonna be Jiren level, or if not, you know, beyond that, or should he be below him? Because to me, he has to be below Jiren, I think at least, but that all depends on whether or not this is the ancient Saiyan from Beerus's prophecy, and just finding out more origins about him, because as of this recording, we don't have official information as to who he is, why he's there, or where he comes from. But to you, would you rather see him be above Jiren or equal to Jiren in terms of power? And in terms of his origin, what would you rather see as a fan going into this film?
I think if he's the Saiyan from the lore and from Beerus's dream, I see him going above and beyond Jiren. The reason why is because already by default he has more development than Jiren in terms of, like, history in the series, and Jiren got fodderized for real in the finale of Dragon Ball Super. Like, his character development just went to the trash compared to a lot of the other characters. Ribrianne got more screen time than him, so I think they have more potential with this particular Saiyan, if it is from the dream, than they ever did with Jiren. Therefore, he should be stronger than Jiren.
Now, by no means are we confirming that this is the Saiyan from Beerus's prophecy. However, I do feel like if they don't decide to go into the direction of this person having to be an existing member of the universe, something to where it would be recognizable, even in Beerus's prophecy, because as much as a lot of people would allude in saying, well, the person in Beerus's prophecy was Goku, after their first battle, we never saw them clash ever again, minus the Beerus and the Monaka suit, but that didn't really count as much. So if this person ends up being the Saiyan from Beerus's prophecy, that would be most interesting, considering that this whole time he had either been residing or was residing in Universe 7, but the question is, where was he the entire time? More importantly, I think that this person ought to come outside of Universe 7, perhaps maybe Universe 6, considering that we don't know anything from Universe 6, especially having to look at what came from Universe 6, Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla. even with the fusion with Kefla. So we know that the Universe 6 Saiyans are exponentially more powerful and can become even more powerful with the correct amount of training. So perhaps, as a lot of people have pointed out, this could be somebody that is currently either residing in Universe 6 or at least once tampered or was involved with Universe 6. And as is, this can go in one of many different directions, and this is where you guys come into play. Let us know in the comment section below as to who you guys believe this is. Is this Saiyan the exact same Saiyan from Beerus' prophecy? Is he from Universe 6? Is he from Universe 7? Or is this person from an entirely different dimension as a whole? I want to know your theories. I want to know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you all so very much for watching, guys. If you guys are new to this channel and love Dragon Ball, don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button, and most importantly, turn on all notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel. Check out the official Dragon Ball Super movie playlist down below. On there you will find various different discussions along with news, information, and updates for the upcoming Dragon Ball movie. Thank you all so very much for watching. I would like to know your thoughts down below. It's a very intriguing topic, and this is why I decided to talk about it, because this Saiyan in particular is going to be so impactful in this film, considering the fact that this is going to be Goku after the Tournament of Power. I'm very curious to see as to where this person is going to stack up being compared to Goku at that given point. Thank you all so very much for watching, guys. Once again, tune back in for more. Check out Super Saiyan Paul's channel down in the description box, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Take it easy, guys. Cue my outro, bitch.